Hello. Hi. Welcome. I'm Kate. Kate Minola from Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. A shrew. I think the word that Shakespeare was looking for was woman. A woman to be tamed. What am I, Will? A wild animal? Ah, good old Will. I'll forget about him. You've come here today to see my play, Othello on Trial. But you know his play, right? Yeah. Othello, yeah? The Moor of Venice?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? God, I hate that play. Yeah, nearly as much as the one he put me in. It's bad enough that it has 2 wife killers, but to make the crazy, jealous one a black man? And a Muslim to boot. Seriously? Yeah, couldn't have a white guy in the role. As if they haven't been killing their wives for centuries. Blame the minority guy, right? Not very PC, Will. Not very woke. And as for getting a white actor to play the role in blackface, I mean, can it get any worse? No. Can it? No. Can it? No. Anyway, I put a call out for actors. Oh, I didn't tell you. I've got my own theatre company. It's called the Subversive Shakespeare Company. Do you like it? Yeah. Yeah. We're always looking for new talent. Let's see who turns up. Aaron, good to see you.
I wouldn't miss this, Kate.
Hello. Are you here for the auditions?
I'm George Page, the nicest man in Shakespeare's canon. proud husband of Meg, one of the Merry Wives of Windsor, one of Shakespeare's comedies. Do you know it?
Yeah.
Features an insanely jealous husband, not me.
Hi, I'm Frank Ford, the most idiotic man in all of Shakespeare. The rapidly jealous husband of the other merry wife, Alice.
Do you know Kate? Kate Minola.
As in Kiss Me Kate?
Ooh, come, Kate, not to bed.
And you are?
Aaron Moore.
Aaron the Moor, from Titus Andronicus.
Shakespeare's bloodbath revenge play. You were one badass murder, assault.
And the rest. But he did save his son. And he had that great line.
Is black so base a hue?
So base.
So, Kate, you're putting Othello on trial for murder. What brought this on?
Well, Hamlet stood trial. The Macbeths, of course. Richard III. Why not Othello? He'll have the best available defence.
Oh yes, his defence was super defamation. Say it never happened.
And no, Frank, it's a murder trial. And it did happen. He killed his wife.
Admitted it. So I guess your question is he guilty of manslaughter?
Or murder. Let's start with what we know about Shakespeare's Othello.
Othello is a general employed by the Venetian state. He marries a Venetian noblewoman, Desdemona. They're very happy, but not for long.
The villain, Iago, tricks Othello into believing Desdemona's having an affair with Cassio, Othello's loyal lieutenant.
Othello falls into a jealous rage, refusing to listen to her pleas of innocence. He suffocates her. Too late, he realises his mistake. He kills himself.
That's it, the story of Othello.
That's it.
What else?
Othello, the Moor, Shakespeare calls him. Old Black Ram, Iago calls him.
Black devil, barbarian, wheeling stranger, lascivious Moor.
And even Othello himself makes cracks about turbaned Turks and base Indians. Or was it base Judeans? Whichever, they were base.
Well, it's clear. Othello is a play about race.
And it's a play about men, their possessiveness, and their fear of being sexually betrayed by their wives.
It's a multitasker. It's a play about race and jealousy and rage against women.
Recall what triggered Othello's rage?
A missing hanky. Iago tells Othello that his wife had given Cassio the hanky Othello had given her. Othello takes this as proof of her infidelity.
Seriously, A missing hanky?
Well, it was rather special to him. Handed down to him by his by his mother. Or was it his father? Anyway, it was special. And spotted in strawberry.
Bloody hell! Get a grip! Whatever, it's just a hanky. Look, hacking a Facebook page, reading a text messages maybe, but a hanky? Come on.
One thing's the same though. Men still kill unfaithful wives. Take the cases that sparked the movement to ban sexual infidelity as an excuse for murder in England.
What? Why?
To stop men getting away with murder. To stop them receiving a lighter sentence for the lesser offence of manslaughter. By saying that their wives provoked them, made them see red, said they were in a so-called red mist.
Red mist.
Codes for so-called crimes of passion. The very crime Shakespeare dramatises in Othello. In fact, Shakespeare writes about men's homicidal jealousy in several plays. Much Ado About Nothing, Merry Wives of Windsor,
Cymbeline.
Winter's Tale.
Hey, what about women's jealous homicidal rage?
No, in Shakespeare it's only men who succumb to red mist.
That's a bit sexist.
So, let's start.
How many roles?
4. A judge, prosecutor, defence lawyer, and the defendant. A judge. Obviously, that's me.
I'll prosecute. Looks like a big enough role.
With men killing their wives on a weekly basis, there's lots of work for prosecutors.
In Australia?
1 a week here on average. And men are still getting away with murder in some states.
So anyway, who'll play Othello?
You.
Me? Why not you?
I'm not playing Shakespeare's game.
What game?
Making the wife killer a black Moor who turns into an emoting, homicidal maniac. And an idiot to boot. Plum roll for you, Frank.
Okay, George, you're the judge, Frank, Othello, and I'll be the defence lawyer.
By the way, Kate, where's the play set?
Here in Melbourne?
Not here. It's too close to home.
Too close?
Well, it might be their home. So he's on trial in London, at the Old Bailey.
At the famous courthouse, where you all get to call me my lord. Let's proceed. The scene is now transported, gentles, to the Old Bailey, where you have all been appointed to the jury. So pay attention, please. Okay, are we ready? There is the playhouse now, and there you must sit. And thence to England we shall convey you safe.
We're all ready in England.
And if we may, will not offend one stomach with our play.
Not one. Unlikely. 'Tis 10 to 1 this play can never please all that are here.
This court is now in session. In the case of the Crown against Othello. Will the defendant please stand? How do you plead?
Not guilty, my lord.
If the court pleases, I act for the defence.
Ah, Miss Minola, always a pleasure.
And I act for the Crown. Aaron Moore, my lord.
Please proceed, Mr. Moore.
My lord, we submit that Othello is guilty of murder. Premeditated murder. Members of the jury, the defense will call this a hot-blooded crime of passion. Sure, the law has always distinguished hot-blooded killing from cold-blooded murder and treated the former far more leniently. But this was no spur-of-the-moment killing. Bent on revenge, he planned it down to the last detail. We have CCTV evidence.
I'll tear her all to pieces. I gave her a handkerchief spotted with strawberries. What's my first gift? But Iago said he saw Cassio wipe his beard with such a handkerchief. If it be that, it speaks against her with the other proofs. All my fond love thus do I blow to heaven. 'Tis gone. Arise, black vengeance from the hollow hell. Oh, blood! 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 Damn her, lewd minx! Oh, contaminated. Good, good. The justice of it pleases. Very good.
Good, good, the justice of it pleases. Chop her into messes. I'll tear her all to pieces. She shall not live. Could there be clearer evidence of premeditated murder? As for her alleged adultery,
It is the cause. It is the cause, my soul. Let me not name it you, you chaste stars. It is the cause.
the cause? What cause? Whatever bloody emotions controlled men in the past, as Lord Hoffman so rightly said,
In the case of Smith, Morgan Smith, as I recall, he said, male possessiveness and jealousy should not today be an acceptable reason for loss of self-control leading to homicide.
jealousy may have been the rage of a man upon finding his wife in bed with another man back in the day, but not now. Not today, when women are no longer men's property. Or are they? Do you, members of the jury, think possessive jealousy is an acceptable reason for losing self-control? We have reason, my lord. As Shakespeare's Iago put it, if the balance of our lives...
Ah, yes. If the balance of our lives had not one scale of reason to poise another of sensuality, the blood and baseness of our natures would conduct us to most preposterous conclusions. But we have reason to cool our raging motions.
Yes, reason to cool our rage, our unbridled lusts, and that, as it happens, is the law of England. As the authorities clearly state in Kirkham 1837, my lord, though the law condescends to human frailty...
Yes, I have the page. Though the law condescends to human frailty, it won't indulge human ferocity. It considers man to be a rational being and requires him to exercise a reasonable control over his passions.
And goodness knows, you were warned, weren't you, to control yours. What did Iago tell you?
Oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds on.
Othello's wife, Desdemona, thought her husband true of mind, and made of no such baseness as jealous creatures are. Besides, she never gave him cause, but her friend Emilia knew. That was no consolation. She knew what we all know, my lord,
And just what do we all know, Mr. Moore?
that jealous souls will not be answered so. They are not ever jealous for the cause, but they're jealous for their jealous. Something Iago understood well.
Trifles light as air are to the jealous confirmations strong as proof of holy writ.
Such trifles, members of the jury, are no excuse for murder. And there's an even bigger hole in the defense, an insurmountable problem.
Is there? Let's hear it.
My learned friend appears to have forgotten that our English Parliament has reformed the law of murder, banning sexual infidelity as a trigger for losing self-control.
Indeed it has. If you want to plead loss of control today, infidelity is off the table.
And why did Parliament reform the law, members of the jury?
Objection. Seeking to inject a broader issue.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
It did so precisely to prevent men like these getting away with murder by blaming the victim, saying she provoked him to lose his self-control.
True. That's the old provocation. That's why the old provocation defence was abolished. But it was very controversial.
An important reform, don't you think, my lord? Ending our culture of excuses.
Culture of excuses? Ours?
And in case you were wondering, members of the jury, all the cases leading to this reform were wife-killing cases.
All of them?
You don't recall Hume's 2001, my lord?
Humes?
The lawyer who knifed his wife to death in front of their children. Said he was in a red mist, got away with murder, claimed provocation, and got 7 years for manslaughter.
But wasn't she having an affair?
Was she? And surely you recall the reformers naming provocation by infidelity, an Englishman's defense of choice for centuries, as our own version of honor killing.
When you say ours,
Our own, my lord.
what? In our house?
Too cruel anywhere, my lord.
Yes, I take your point.
Do you, my lord? Do you, members of the jury, take the point that allowing any wife killer to get away with murder is totally unacceptable today?
Mr. Moore needs to keep up to date with the law. He's forgotten that the new law does not totally exclude sexual infidelity from consideration. It can still be taken into account if it's integral to the facts as a whole.
I expect you're referring to my judgment in Clinton 2012, Ms. Manola. The appeal in that case of 3 more wife killings. One had left her husband, the other 2 were planning to.
Yes, Clinton, my lord, where you so wisely said that experience over many generations has shown that sexual infidelity can produce sometimes violent responses that stem from a sense of betrayal, heartbreak, and crushed dreams.
Oh, Miss Manola, such betrayal, such heartbreak.
Precisely our defendant's fate. When you consider the whole context, the facts as a whole, including, of course, his wife's flirtatious behaviour.
Objection! Relevance!
Overruled. The victim's behaviour matters. Why, I recall a case when the judge said the wife would have tried the patience of an angel. He didn't even bother giving her long-suffering husband a custodial sentence. I'll allow it. Proceed.
The victim, Desdemona, was a known flirt. Listen as she chats with Iago and Cassio. Oh, Iago, come, how wouldst thou praise me? And how say you, Cassio, who took her hand? And she badgered Othello to give Cassio his job back. I pray, let Cassio be received again. You'll never meet a more sufficient man. And let's not forget that Iago said he heard Cassio call out while he was sleeping, inadvertently disclosing their affair.
Objection! Hearsay!
Overruled. It goes to the facts as a whole. Tell us what he heard.
He heard Cassio say,
Sweet Desdemona, let us be wary. Let us hide our loves.
you see, members of the jury, when you consider all the facts, the victim's conduct clearly contributed to Othello's loss of self-control.
Please. Are these so-called facts extremely grave matters as the law requires? She wasn't unfaithful. Let's say she had been, members of the jury. Should that excuse murder? As Lord Simon so famously said in the 1949 Holmes case?
Yes, I recall. He said that the law had to reconcile respect for the sanctity of human life with recognition of human frailty.
Human life, my lord. Even a wife's. Even if she was unfaithful. And what example did he give? Why, none other than Othello.
Othello! Goodness me!
Even if Iago's insinuations about Desdemona had been true, Lord Simon said Othello's crime was murder and nothing else.
Murder and nothing else?
You found a case where Othello was convicted of murder? Objection, my lord, prejudicial.
Sustained. The jury will disregard the views expressed in Holmes that Othello's crime was murder.
As for this defendant's obsession with his wife's alleged indiscretion,
It is the cause. It is the cause, my soul. Let me not name it to you, you chaste stars. It is the cause. She must die, else she'll betray more men.
betray more men? Betray more men? Just how far did he take this delusion?
Deluded. Indeed he was. And that, members of the jury, forms the basis of one of our defences.
One of them? How many do you have?
2, my lord. The accused pleads not guilty to murder, but guilty of manslaughter, on the basis of loss of control and on the basis of diminished responsibility.
Proceed, Ms. Manola.
First, loss of control. Members of the jury, this was no murder. This was a time-honoured crime of passion. And as you know, there's no more grave matter to a man than being wronged by his wife. It gives him a justifiable sense of being seriously wronged, causing him to lose self-control and sometimes kill her.
Justifiable? To kill her?
For centuries, the law of England has held that there can be no greater provocation than this. We have precedents going back hundreds of years. Let's start in 1706, when it was first laid down.
In Moorbridge, Miss Manola, I know it well. When a man is taken in adultery with another man's wife, if the husband shall stab the adulterer or knock out his brains, this is bare manslaughter. For jealousy is the rage of a man, and adultery the highest invasion of property. The highest invasion of property. The highest invasion of property. Jealousy, it is the rage
of a man, his wife's possession, his property. They got all that right.
My lord.
Don't interrupt, Mr. Moore. Proceed, Miss Manola.
As the judge said in
Kirkham again?
he said, there are certain things which so stir up a man's blood that he can no longer be his own master. And the law makes allowances for them, members of the jury, because it understands that overpowering passion overpowers reason.
Passion? Having my best judgment collied, essays to lead the way.
So many cases follow the golden rule. When a man finds another man with his wife and kills him or her, in the first transport of passion, he is only guilty of manslaughter. And that's in the lowest degree, for the provocation is grievous.
She's gone. I am abused, and my relief must be to loathe her. Oh, curse of marriage, that we can call these delicate creatures ours, and not their appetites.
True, the defendant did not find his wife in the act, but he had good reason to suspect her, and he didn't simply take Iago's word for it, he demanded evidence.
Villain! Be sure to prove my love a whore. Give me the ocular proof. Thinkest thou I'd make a life of jealousy to follow still the changes of the moon with fresh suspicion? No, no! I'll see before I doubt, and when I doubt, prove.
Convinced he had proof, he killed her. To protect his honour, members of the jury, as he said himself. What say you, Othello?
An honourable murderer, if you will, for naught I did in hate, but all in honour.
If a man loses his honour, members of the jury, he loses himself. The law makes concessions to such men. We lawyers call it a concession to human frailty.
Frailty, thy name is woman.
Wrong play. Wrong context. Human frailty? Women's frailty? Please, just look at all the cases. Men's frailty all the way through.
That's enough, Mr. Moore.
Members of the jury, remember law's age-old concession to human frailty. Have compassion for the defendant, a man driven to extremities by Iago's lies.
I did proceed upon just grounds to these extremities.
Just grounds indeed. And the law has always been compassionate to such men.
Indeed it has, Miss Manola.
And that's not all, my lord. We have another defence.
Another one. This might be a moment for me to have a break. Let the jury catch its breath.
Here we go again. Loss of control and diminished responsibility. How many times you pulled that double whammy to get your man off a murder rap?
bitter, Aaron. You just can't stand seeing me win. A man's entitled to a defence, or two.
His emotional turmoil, her death sentence, your defences. How do you sleep at night?
Between silk sheets, between...
Order! Let's proceed. You were saying, Miss Manola.
Our diminished responsibility defence, my lord.
Hmm?
We submit that Othello suffered from an abnormality of mental functioning, arising from forget the legal jargon. It is quite simple.
It couldn't be simpler. However she dresses this up, it's still the same old jealous husband defense.
It is very simple, members of the jury. If you're depressed and you find out your wife's been... in fact, if you're depressed because you find out she's been... you might just lose your self-control and kill her. If so, a diminished responsibility defence is open to you.
So let me get this straight. Wife leaves, he's sad. Kills her, lawyer says, sad man had good defence, is sad.
My lord,
You're trying my patience, Mr. Moore.
I do believe he's against any crime of passion defence, my lord. He would make a star-chambered matter out of all wife killers.
Preposterous! Please continue.
Othello was sad, depressed, suffering from a condition called Othello syndrome.
Othello syndrome?
Morbid jealousy for which there is no cause. It was raised in a case back in...
Yes, I know. Vinagre, 1979, if I'm not mistaken. But where are you heading?
Well, the trial judge accepted the Othello syndrome defence in that case, my lord.
But the Court of Appeal didn't think much of it. Did it? Let's see. Wife killing, it said, is a conduct of a common kind.
I'll say.
Order! Where was I? Oh, yes. The court said, husbands do kill wives. Sometimes there might be good reasons why they should be jealous. Sometimes there isn't. As for this so-called Othello syndrome, it seems to require us to discover whether the victim was unfaithful. If so, it would be a straightforward case of a jealous husband. If not, then Othello syndrome might be raised because his jealousy had no basis. Terribly complicated. Look here, Ms. Manola, this syndrome wasn't a concept that appealed to that court, nor to this one.
But it was also raised in a New South Wales case in 2021.
Yet another wife killer. The defence argued that his mounting paranoia and abuse of his wife was evidence he was suffering from Othello syndrome.
But that jury rejected the defence, convicted him of murder.
We object to the introduction of Othello syndrome, my lord.
Sustained. The jury will disregard the defence submission that the defendant, Othello, suffered with Othello syndrome.
But he was suffering from depression affecting his ability to know what he was doing. In such a state, he would have been likely to lose self-control.
Yes. Your medical expert says he had a medical condition clouding his ability to think clearly. Well, ours says he didn't.
Didn't. The important thing, members of the jury, is that it is up to you, not the experts, to determine the matter. Even if he was depressed, would that substantially impair his ability to know what he was doing?
Our law has always provided a defence for distraught men committing crimes of passion.
The law's been reformed, remember? Infidelity as excuse for murder, no more. Witch burning, no more.
My lord.
Yes, enough with the speeches.
Bear baiting, no more.
Any more, Mr. Moore, and I'll hold you in contempt.
We have more, my lord.
Proceed, Miss Manola.
Witnesses saw the defendant falling into a trance, possibly an epileptic fit, and showing clear signs of derangement, clear signs he had lost his mind.
Farewell, the tranquil mind! Farewell, contempt! Lie with her, lie on her, lie with her, zounds! That's falsome! Handkerchief, pish! Confess, handkerchief, oh devil!
Now, strange that a man would take a missing a missing handkerchief as proof of her infidelity.
Must
But-
admit, I did find that odd.
Yes, but it was important to him. It was special to him, passed down to him by his mother, or was it his father? Anyway, it was special to him.
That handkerchief did an Egyptian to my mother give. She was a charmer and could almost read the thoughts of people. She told her while she kept it, 'twould make her amiable and subdue my father entirely to her love. But if she lost it, or made a gift of it,
Bloody hell, get a grip.
That's just it, members of the jury. He didn't have a grip. And let's not forget his bizarre response to hearing that Cassio was to replace him as governor of Cyprus,
you are welcome, sir, to Cyprus, goats and monkeys.
suggesting a frail, deteriorating mental state. A mind turned by Iago conjuring up a picture of Desdemona and Cassio as prime as goats and as hot as monkeys. Lodovico himself said that he found him recognisable for the man he knew in Venice.
I recall he said, "Is this the noble Moor, this the nature, who passion could not shake?"
Passion, having my best judgment collied.
Prompting Lodovico to ask, are his wits safe? Is he not light of brain?
Lightness of brain, exactly. Brought on by dwelling on his wife's betrayal.
Excellent wretch, perdition catch my soul. But I do love thee, and when I love thee not, chaos has come again.
Chaos has come again. Clear evidence of a disordered mind. By the time he killed her, he was, as he said himself, wrought and perplexed to the extreme.
Soft you a word or two. I've done the state some service and they know it. No more of that, I pray you. When you shall these unlucky deeds relate, speak of me as I am. Nothing extenuate, nor set down aught in malice. Then must you speak of one who loved not wisely, but too well. Of one not easily jealous, but being wrought, perplexed to the extreme.
Perplexed indeed he was, and suffering from a delusion that he was avenging all mankind against women, a delusion brought on by the shock of his wife's betrayal.
O perjured woman, thou dost stone my heart, and makest me call what I intend to do a murder,
Yes.
which I thought a sacrifice.
Yes. Blame the victim. But see, he knew it was murder. We submit that the diminished responsibility defense be withdrawn from the jury.
Application refused. The jury will consider both defences. Now make your final summations to the jury, Mr. Moore.
Members of the jury, recall the defendant's self-serving testimony. Unlucky deeds, he calls them. Speak of me as I am. Nothing extenuate. Okay, I won't extenuate. Here is a man who refuses to take responsibility for his actions, who subjected his wife's right to live to his right to ownership, who saw her as a mere object, a once precious pearl, and now hopes to get off with manslaughter. The law isn't that stupid, members of the jury. As the judge said in yet another wife-killing case, Weller 2004, my lord.
Well, let me see. She said, losing your self-control cannot by itself be a defence to murder, because it would mean anybody who found it difficult to control their emotions or their temper could kill. The law isn't that stupid. The law expects people to control their emotions. She did say that.
Mm-hmm. Being tired and emotional and sad isn't a license to kill. And that's the matter you must consider, members of the jury. Should being upset and not feeling your best excuse murder? Bring in the only possible just verdict. The one Lord Simon delivered 6 decades ago. Even if Desdemona had been unfaithful, Othello was guilty of murder and nothing else.
Once again, Mr. Moore fails to keep up to date with the law. Lord, he should know that the Lord Judge said that infidelity may not mitigate a cold-blooded crime, but that doesn't mean it can never mitigate. That would, he said, contradict the reality of human behaviour and the approach taken by the courts for generations to the possible impact that infidelity may have on men and women.
The reality of human behaviour, its impact on men and women? Seriously? You found any cases where a woman killed unfaithful men?
As a matter of fact, I did find one.
You found one! Congratulations!
My lord!
Hold the sarcasm, Mr. Moore. Please continue, Miss Manola.
Members of the jury, I leave you with the wise words of the retired Judge Lord Neil, spoken when he stood up in the House of Lords to protest against the outrageous proposal to ban sexual infidelity as excuse for murder. He said this: "Is infidelity now to be taken as an ordinary incident of marital life? To have to put up with unfaithful partners is ridiculous and out of line with the way people think about human passions. After all, every opera you go to, every novel you read has sexual infidelity at some point or other. Otherwise they're not worth reading or listening to. And it goes without saying, members of the jury, that without sexual infidelity, Shakespeare's Othello wouldn't be worth watching. I rest my case. Use your common sense. Consider how we all feel about crimes of passion and find the defendant not guilty of murder."
Members of the jury, it is time for you to consider your verdict. Murder or manslaughter? And by the powers invested in me and poetic license, I give you permission to determine the sentence. Not sure what length sentences wife killers get in England today? We'll leave you with some examples. Mind you, they are only a guide. You may hand down whatever verdict and sentence you think fits the case. This court is now adjourned while you, the jury, consider your verdict.